Welcome to the Guy at the Movies podcast with Joe and Sean. I am Joe. He is Sean. How are you, Sean?
Oh, I'm doing so well. I'm finally back in the classroom, getting ready to do a couple of very fun activities that will hopefully cause civil obedience again in this world. Getting really excited.
Sounds like you're doing your part. For everyone out there, we are recording on Monday night instead of Tuesday night, and this will come out on Tuesday because Tuesday is election day. And we are joined by the wonderful, the basic cinephiles. Ziana, welcome.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Well, thanks for being here. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Survived Halloween and ready to stop getting election campaign mailers flooding my inbox, ready to be able to watch YouTube again without hearing about how evil so-and-so is, and then the next person, and then the next person. So yeah, ready for all that fun to be put behind us.
You know, these text messages from the campaigns and stuff, I think it's my longest relationship of my life. So I'm a little upset that that's going to end.
Well, I get really excited because I think it's an old flame with an unknown number. It's like, oh, who is this? Maybe from college or high school. And then it's just like, everyone's going to die tomorrow. Please vote.
Your fiance might have a problem with that.
No, she knows that I love that attention with it. Like, it's for the attention only. Like, I'm just like, ooh.
Who's this?
She's like, it's less text that she has to worry about sending you, so it's less work.
Right. She's like, someone give him attention. My God.
Yeah, please.
She's exhausted.
And that's how he ended up on the podcast. Kidding. All right. Well, hey, we're going to move into some things here. But Ziana, first, I wanted to start off with you have some exciting stuff going on at the Basic Cinephile, do you not?
I sure do. So I recently was accepted to be a cherry picker for the cherry picks.
That's awesome.
And I'm really excited because I wasn't as successful the last time I applied to be a cherry picker. So this time, persistence paid off.
Hey, and so it shows growth and stuff, right? With your page and how far you've come.
Honestly, I was talking to my sister about it. She also helps me run the Basic Cinephile. And I was like, this might be bad, but I'm pretty sure this is the first time in my life I've ever tried to do something, failed, and then tried again. I was like, I'm a whole new person. Is this what you're supposed to do?
Yeah. You're like, I'm an adult now. Is this growth?
Yeah, is this growth? Am I okay? Am I learning to accept failure and criticism and then growing from it and becoming stronger? Who knows?
That's really not all bad.
Yeah.
That's awesome, though. Cherry Picks is such a great page and great website as well. The work that they do. I spoke with them, God, it's got to be like 4 or 5 months now on one of the Instagram lives. And I was just kind of blown away by it, especially their focus on inclusion and really representation within the community. I think based on conversations we've all had in the past, it's so necessary and so great for them to be doing so well. So I'm glad that you're a part of it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Let's move into what we've been watching, and we have been watching a lot. I will start off. I'm going to kind of run through a few of them really briefly and then focus in on one that I am really loving. So first off, Come Play, scary film, autistic, nonverbal boy. Love the angle that it took. Did not really care for the film. Was kind of the same old when it comes to horror. Let Him Go, Kevin Costner, Diane Lane. Great acting, great cinematography. It was good. I enjoyed it. I think people should see it. I have some issues with it that I talked about in my review today. The Craft Legacy wasn't a total shit show. I actually enjoyed it. I'm excited to see where they take it and where they go with it. I think it was some, nice new energy into that idea. MLK FBI was a documentary that pissed me off, but it was, it's good, and I think it's definitely necessary for people to see. Black Bear, which is Aubrey Plaza's new film, an odd film. I saw it as part of the Philadelphia Film Festival. It was kind of touted as a big film that's on its way. I'm not totally thrilled with it. It does some interesting things, but I don't know that it does it well. I'll just leave it at that. I haven't put the review up yet, and I'm still gathering my thoughts. I have a blank page in my notebook about it. The Whitman'S is a documentary about a murder in Pennsylvania where a young 15-year-old was tried as an adult and convicted of murdering his 13-year-old brother. there's some more that I would say about that. It's a little disingenuous in the way it presents itself based on some research I've done afterwards, and that really irritates me. I love a good documentary, but they didn't present everything appropriately, and it kind of upsets me. Sound of Metal, Riz Ahmed. He is a drummer who is going deaf, and he's also a recovering addict, and it's just a really interesting story of how he comes to cope with all of that, and power through and find a new purpose in life. It was a really good movie. It didn't blow me away how I thought it would be, but it's a really solid movie that I think I just saw got a release date on Amazon in like mid-December or something. So definitely recommend that. Boy Behind the Door, really fascinating film. Recommend that. The Vigil, supernatural film focused on some pieces of the Jewish faith that I really actually enjoyed because it offered some representation that often isn't on film, and I definitely enjoy that. Sylvie's Love, I watched today. It comes out on Christmas Day on Amazon. I could talk a whole podcast about this film because I absolutely love it. I always pronounce his name wrong, but Nemani Asamoah, who was a Philadelphia Eagles player. He is now an actor. He's married to Kerry Washington. He's a producer, but he's excellent in this movie, as is Tessa Thompson. Those two together are just phenomenal, and it's just an all-around great film. The one I want to focus on real quick is the Obituary of Tunde Johnson. It is an older film, written by older, meaning I think it was 2019 technically, but it's making the rounds this year in all of the festivals. Written by a 20-year-old college kid. Think Palm Springs, which I know, Ziana, you'll love that. Think Palm Springs, but with a social justice twist. He is a Black young gay man who is wrestling with his identity and ends up in an altercation with the police that results in him dying, but he ends up reliving the same day over and over and over again. So it's really fascinating without getting into it, but I just absolutely loved it. I thought that everything about it was so well done. And while it doesn't necessarily, I think, push a message, it opens the conversation. And I love that in movies. As much as I love to watch a dumb movie every once in a while that's just going to up my spirits, I think this one was just phenomenal in the way that it was presented. So I'm really excited because this is the first time I've watched a lot of films at a film festival and have no idea when they're going to be out for like public consumption. So I'm very excited to be able to be one of those people now that when the Obituary of Tunde Johnson comes out and people are seeing it in 5 months, to be like, hey, let me tell you about that one. Or listen to episode 20, which I think this is episode 20, by the way, of the podcast. What?
Look at us.
Yeah, look at us going. We keep tabs on that. So yeah, lots to watch, lots more to watch. It's been a fun time. Sean, you are getting into horror on this list, I see.
Boy, oh boy, am I. I've always been, just like a very big time scaredy cat. And I think now horror movies, I look at them the same as spicy food, where I love them. I adore it. But I will react very dramatically and overdo it. So when I look at these, I went for it on October 30th. I just decided I'm going to watch Halloween. Absolutely loved that movie. Really great. I then decided to go a little bit less horror, but with Mandy. Very, very fascinating movie. I don't think I love it the way the rest of the world does, but very fascinating. I'll be working on a review for that a little bit later. 537 Votes, which is the documentary about the recount that happened in 2000. Very, very, very good documentary that was very detailed. I loved it. I'm saying very a lot. This next documentary was very much a documentary. It was very, very. This was The Soul of the Nation, which is a documentary that went back in time of different types of places in history where things were bad in America also. And so it was just as bad as it was now. So both comforting and extraordinarily depressing.
I don't know what you're talking about. Things are fine.
We're going to do great. It's going to be great. What's going on tomorrow?
Fine.
Then David Byrne's American Utopia. Shout out to Kevin, who wouldn't stop talking about this one, our guest the last 4 times. It is a filmed concert or a filming of the Broadway production that is basically a concert of David Byrne from the Talking Heads. I didn't expect to like it because I'm not much of a music guy. I don't know much about music or really anything there. Absolutely loved it. Really cool choreography, everything there. And this is the one I'm going to talk about. because I did a actual Instagram live of how terrified I was of this movie. It truly terrified me. Scariest movie of the year for me. It's called His House on Netflix. This is a story about refugees, obviously escaping to England, and they're in a little halfway house, kind of like an old house, and it's pretty much haunted, and it goes from there. The way they crafted the horror in this was just so perfect. It was a jump scare that then didn't let go. So it's like normally jump scare, hoo, ha, done. This was just jump scare, hoo, 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 hoo. And I am just and I'm sitting there gripping the couch, just screaming, stop! And it does transfer into something that is just absolutely emotionally beautiful and wrecked me in half. And it's like this story of the term social horror gets thrown around a lot. I can't speak. And this just absolutely blew me away of how well it put the social horror there, didn't over enunciate the message, and just simply made it a horror movie that had a really solid moral to it. But His House on Netflix, watch it. If you're easily scared, also watch it because I want to feel good about myself.
This is a movie that I never had heard of before you mentioned it, and it's at 100% on Rotten Tomatoes right now. I'm like, woo, that's got to be pretty solid. Good for Netflix finally nabbing one of those.
I know it is just that. That's what I did not think about this, or I did not even hear about this either. And I'm just really surprised that it was able to just sneak its way in. And it's directed and written by Remy Weeks, and I think this is the first time. The performances, there is someone from Lovecraft Country. Other than that, it's pretty and Matt Smith is in it for two scenes, which is just very odd. He's just kind of in there. He's like, hey, what's happening? I'm Matt Smith, I'm out. I couldn't
special. Well, fun stuff. Ziana, what do you have on your plate? What have you been watching?
Okay, so I did a modified version of going down with the scary movie rabbit hole. Starting off with Jeepers Creepers. So I made my sister watch that. Made my sister watch that for the first time. She'd never seen it. And when I was younger, I really loved scary movies. I wasn't allowed to watch them because I was such a scaredy cat as a kid. I thought after I saw Toy Story that my toys were going to come to life and kill me, and I had to hide them all. So I'm like, what would have happened to me if I had seen Chucky? I don't even know. I don't think I would have made it. But in middle school, I used to watch scary movies all the time. And then I got older and didn't live with my parents anymore. And I was like, being scared is not fun because I'm just terrified all night long. So I'm just recently able to watch scary movies and be terrified in the moment, but then still sleep at night. So so I wanted to revisit that one because I used to watch that movie on repeat as a middle schooler. And it was always one where I was like, it's not going to be scary this time. And then every time they would something would jump up and I would do the couch grab and scream. So rewatched that one with my sister. It's still really fun where the first half is pretty scary and then the second half is just totally ridiculous. It's kind of the perfect combo because by the time you're done, you're like, I laughed, I got scared, and now I feel fine. So.
It balances out, cancels one another
exactly. And you just get to yell at Justin Long on screen doing stupid stuff the whole time. So
big fan.
Who doesn't love that?
Yeah, that's the real reason we watched it. So yeah, I did that one, and then since the sequel to Borat came out, I realized I should probably watch the first one for the first time because I'm that far behind the times. So I watched original Borat. And thought it was hilarious and disturbing and over the top and all of the things. So next week I'll have a hot take on the on the Borat that's more relevant. But I like to stay 10 to 15 years behind the times at all times.
Yeah,
you know?
Tricking people. Yeah, keeping them on their feet.
For sure. And then I also watched Hocus Pocus because it was Halloween. Watched it for probably the 8th time this month, and who knows how many times overall. But I was like, I have to watch this again. Wow,
it's amazing. It's
Halloween time.
A classic film for this time of year.
It really is. And I didn't know, I was doing like Halloween trivia on my stories throughout the month. And I didn't know that Bette Midler had said that that's like her favorite role she's ever done with Hocus Pocus. And I'm like, that's impressive because she's done some cool stuff.
Well, when you think about it, she's like, behind the scenes look of it. It's there's very low stakes in what was probably very close to a Disney Channel original movie. So they probably had a blast on set because they could do whatever they wanted.
Oh, for sure. And I'm sure they had no idea that like 30 years later, people are still going to be watching it, raving about it. Kids love it. Adults love it. Like,
well, and not to get off, off our path here, but they did a reunion type thing this past weekend. The three.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, Sarah Jessica Parker, Kathy Najimy, and Bette Midler, and it was really cheesy everything they did, but it was for the New York Restoration Project, like green space and stuff in New York. Okay. But it was really fun. Like they had so many different people pop in, different celebrities, and Bette Midler, like you could tell she was having a blast.
Yeah.
And she looked great. And the best part, this is completely random, but it ended with her knocking on a door or someone knocking on a door, and they open it up and it's Mariah Carey. And she's like, Halloween's over. It's my time now. I was like, love this. Anyway.
That's amazing. Okay. Well, my last two movies, I didn't watch that many movies this week because I was kind of busy, but kind of goes with that theme. So I also watched The Vampire's Assistant, and then there's more to that title. It's like Cirque de something. It's got John C. Reilly, a bunch of other people in it. It was not good. I really couldn't tell you what happened. Don't watch it, is my review for that one. It was just weird. But then, day after Halloween, Christmas with the Cranks was on TV, and I already watched it. So I went straight from Halloween right into Christmas. So it is. It's Mariah's season. It's Michael Bublé season. Like, ready for Christmas.
Hey, you waited. That's all that matters, right? Like, you're playing by the rules.
Yeah.
There's also people are sharing that meme of like the Undertaker from wrestling rising out of a casket, and they're like, Mariah Carey every Christmas season.
Oh my, so good.
Hey, collect that money, Mariah. Yeah. All right, let's move into some movie news. Some good stories this week, I think. We'll get through the movies that are moving. I'm kind of renaming this to like movie release news because I think everything has moved already. So, until our next lockdown, which, should be here in about a week.
Couple of hours.
But Rumble is the latest one to move. Rumble is it's not getting much press, to be honest, but it's a animated film about monster wrestling, essentially. And that's moving to May.
Oh,
so
okay. I did see a trailer for that.
Right.
Was cute.
Yeah.
I weirdly thought this was a pool hall movie at first, but now I know it's the monsters wrestling. Yeah.
So, hey, that's moving to May. But it's kind of interesting because a lot of films are abandoning the January release dates already, which, with the fact that Regal's closed in the U.S., as well as AMC today reporting like their losses, I think, went from like a little bit to a huge amount. I can't even remember the number, but it was monstrous. Like they're not doing well at all. So who knows what's going to happen in the future, but it sounds like I wouldn't be surprised if they don't shut down for a little while. Because I can't imagine that their operating costs of like running films from 10 years ago and like the 7 people that are going to a showing is offsetting, I don't know. Whatever. But the more interesting one is Johnny Depp's next film, which is something that is screaming, Joe, you're going to see this and love it, is coming out. It was just acquired by MGM. It is called Minamata. And it's about a deadly mercury poisoning in a Japanese coastal city. Depp is going to play a photojournalist who helps expose the longtime negligence of a local company who is poisoning the waters. It's inspired by true events. If you saw the picture of him, he looks unrecognizable in this film. He's such a chameleon when it comes to like different roles that he takes. But this film will be hitting theaters and VOD on the same day in February. So on February 5th, 2021, I wonder if that's going to be something we see more, hitting theaters and VOD at the same time. So, squeak out whatever movie or money you can. But Ziana, what do you think about this? And adding in something that we talked about a long time ago, but thinking about Johnny Depp and his legal troubles right now with Amber Heard. I guess first off, is this a film that you're excited about? And second, do you think that that's going to impact his future career at all?
I would say I am excited for this movie. I mean, I just heard about it 5 seconds ago when you told me about it. But I am always down for a good, like, corporations poisoning your water, let's make a movie about it movie. Like, I love Erin Brockovich. I love Dark Waters. And the crazy thing about these stories is, like, there's nothing scarier than real life. It's like, we can talk about, demons coming and haunting you, but, like, actually there's multi-billion-dollar corporations actively poisoning you every day. So we should probably talk about it. So it sounds like a movie with an important message that needs to be talked about. And then as far as his legal troubles go, I haven't really followed that one too closely because it's messy. It's one of those where, depending on the source that I look at, it completely changes my opinion of, like, what's going on. So, I mean, hopefully he's not being a garbage human being and we can keep watching movies with him and enjoy it. But I guess we'll find out.
It's 2020. Everyone's a garbage human being. No kidding. Sean, how about you?
Good for humanity.
Yeah, not at all. Sean, interested in this film at all?
Oh, very. I mean, just like Ziana was saying, I'm a huge fan of just like absolute, like, corporations being terrible and one lowly person bringing them down. And usually, like, the actual true story is that there were several lowly people bringing them down and not, like, one. But, you're going to bring the hero and it's cool. I like the idea of, and I've always liked the idea of Depp playing normal people. Stop playing, like, the insane things. Like, he just started to get a little bit too intense. Like, what I get kind of sad when I see him in a new Pirates movie because I'm like, oh, buddy, like, come on, just stop with that. Like, stop with that. Come on. And so I see that part of him. I'm excited that he's probably going to be a little bit more normal here because I think he can play that and he can play it well. When it comes to his legal troubles, you're absolutely right. The sources are all over the place. Like, there'll be, like, the hint that maybe Amber Heard was lying, and then there's a lot of, like, sources that come out saying, like, yeah, see, all women lie all the time, and it's like, oh, no, back up. And so it's a little bit scary when they try to jump on that so quick. I mean, I look at this as maybe this is something where it's going to be a bit of a, personal comeback for him. Because, I mean, even before the legal troubles, he was sort of getting a little bit tired. I mean, people weren't really into it. People were a little bit, bored by his constant wanting to shock everybody. And so I love the idea of him, taking a step back, looking at something where, this is a different culture. This is a culture where there could be a lot of corruption. I love the idea of this happening. I do.
Yeah. I'm excited to see it happen somewhere other than the United States. I know that sounds terrible. I'm not excited that they were, poisoned. That's not what I'm saying. But I think exploring how this is such a constant across the world in developing countries, or developed countries, I think it's going to be pretty fascinating, especially with him involved. So we shall see. We shall see. All right. Next story is our only story in Comic Book Corner this week, which is, something special, something to celebrate because it's usually all comic book news. But earlier this summer, Justice League actor Ray Fisher, who plays Cyborg, made headlines with accusations of mistreatment and impropriety. On the set of the Justice League when Joss Whedon took over for director Zack Snyder. On Thursday, an interview with Forbes was published where he elaborated. And essentially, he is saying that characters of color were removed from the film and others had their screen time diminished. One of the quotes is, "The erasure of people of color from the 2017 theatrical version was neither an accident nor coincidence. I always suspected that race was a determining factor for the way that things went down, but it wasn't until this past summer that I was able to prove it." There is a list of actors that were supposed to be in the film that either were not or had very limited time. Joe Morton as Cyborg's father, Karen Bryson as Cyborg's mother, Kiersey Clemens as Iris West, who is the love interest to the Flash, Harry Lennox, who is the general that was in Man of Steel and Batman versus Superman. Was he in Man of Steel? Maybe. But he's supposed to be Martian Manhunter. And then an actor named Zheng Kai, who was completely cut from the film. His character's name is Ryan Choi, or the Atom. He went on to say that blatantly racist conversations were had and entertained on multiple occasions by former and current top-level executives at the WB. Decision makers that participated in these racist conversations were Jeff Johns, John Berg, and current Warner Brothers Pictures Group Chairman Toby Emmerich. And that notes that were given to him by Whedon during filming and during reshoots, I should say, were influenced by racism, and that Jeff Johns made veiled threats to his career. So there seems to be a whole lot here being levied. I'll start with you, Sean, because we've talked about this story in the past. Does it surprise you that these are the type of accusations that we're seeing come out of this story, because they kind of had, beaten around what the true story was for a few months?
I mean, mark the tape, because I don't know which episode it was, but I did say, without any proof at all, I said, well, this is probably, having to do with a bit of race. And now I'm just unfortunately not even close to surprised. I mean, I didn't expect it to be at this level, but, it is one of those things where you'll have a bunch of fat cat Hollywood execs and a bunch of producers, and they'll say, hey, the film's kind of long. Well, what do we do? We have to cut out some characters. And, maybe they don't say hey, they don't overtly say, hey, we need to cut out the black characters, but they're like, I guess we'll cut out these 3 or 4 characters. And because, they don't relate to them at all, because no one was in charge of the movie that was black, it doesn't seem. And so it just really upsets me that this is, an argument that, I want, I want black stars in front of the camera more, and that's happening, but also behind the camera, also above the director, also with the producers. And that needs to happen a lot more. And it is happening a lot more, and it needs to happen even more. And this is one of these things where I don't see it here. There was a moment where I believe they were trying to lighten Ray Fisher's skin tone. And I saw that as a report as well. And at this point, it's just where are we where that kind of stuff is happening? And it's just, the whole thing is upsetting. And, I was one of those losers that was against the Snyder cut. And now I'm like, oh my goodness, just give us a Snyder cut that's just Cyborg. He was one of the best parts of that movie anyway. I mean, he really was. And one of my biggest criticisms was he wasn't in it enough. And so, and that was before all of this. I just really want, it's not because I was saying I would like the black character in there more. I'm not going to be that SJW for people. I'm saying it because he was compelling. He was good. His story was great. I wanted to see more of him. And instead, they decided to go another way, which is a way that was whiter. And I don't know, the whole thing. And then what are they arguing that Joss was there before, or the cuts were made before Joss was there? And, well, Joss, I bet, had an access to that tape. I mean, I bet he had access to all that stuff. He could have, moved
yeah. And it throws everyone else under the bus. Okay, maybe Joss is moving along, but we've talked about this before. But Cyborg is supposed to be the heart of Zack Snyder's version, so hopefully we'll see more of him. Ziana, what do you make of this story? I don't know if you're a big superhero person, but I guess the story itself is really, kind of indicative of challenges we still see in Hollywood today.
Yeah, so I never saw the movie, and I don't know. Everyone keeps talking about the Snyder cut. I'll probably just talk about it and not watch that either, but maybe we'll see. No, I'm not the biggest superhero movie person, although I have a controversial opinion that I like the DC movies more than Marvel.
Not controversial on this podcast.
I find them to be more interesting, although the ones that suck are really bad. So I don't really have an invested interest in the movie or anything like that, but I mean, it's just kind of crazy to hear this story getting the press and attention that it should be getting, because this is the kind of shit that goes on all the time but isn't really talked about. It happens behind closed doors. It's hush hush. It's that policy that this is just the way it is. This is the way Hollywood is. This is the way our politics are. This is the way our culture is, and it's just kind of fitting that this is all coming to light in 2020, because it just seems like all of this shit is hitting the fan this year, and it's let's just air all of our dirty laundry. Let's talk about everything, and hopefully, dear God, please, something positive will come out of this.
Yeah, and there's something to be said, I think, for the actors that are standing up for themselves, not only here, but even with the Me Too movement and being able to finally speak out and try to influence change. It just pisses me off because, like you said, it's stuff that you hear, oh, that's just what happens and all that. And here is a prime example, a story that it's not from the 1990s. It's not like from 2000 Scream 3 making fun of what happens behind the scenes and just using that reference because Sean and we just watched all the Scream movies.
Stream watch.
Nice.
But it was 2017 or 2016 that this movie was made. 2017 that it was released, and it's just, I don't know. I can't believe that we're still dealing with this bullshit. Just me crazy. Someone that's not dealing with any of the bullshit anymore is Sean Connery, who sadly has passed away, but I'm kind of jealous of him at this point.
That's a sad segue.
He's going to be the master of segues, and he only thinks that. He'll go. It's going to be great.
There's no holds barred. Things don't matter. No rules 2020. So yeah, Sean Connery has passed away. It's crazy. I was thinking about my favorite roles of his, and when I was looking over his IMDb, I didn't realize that his last film was The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen in 2003. Completely forgot about that movie.
It's what caused him to retire. Reportedly, he said like after that, he's like, the compromises I had to make in that movie, I was done for after that. And
my God.
So it's a real welcome to Mooseport Gene Hackman kind of situation.
The only other movie that I really think about him in, and I forgot about this movie actually until I was researching, Finding Forrester. I don't know if you guys have seen that. Such a phenomenal movie.
That's my favorite of his movies.
There you go. It's so good. So Ziana, are you familiar with any of his other roles? And, of course he was the people's James Bond that everyone loved, but.
I mean, I feel like I want to say yes, but then when I try and think of another movie besides that franchise and Finding Forrester, I'm like, no. And then him just being parodied on SNL for the Celebrity Jeopardy. That's probably my favorite Sean. He's just such an icon that he doesn't even have to be in stuff that's about him for it to be amazing.
It's so true. It's so true. God, some jokes that we can't repeat on here from Celebrity.
Yeah.
But Sean, how about you? What's your favorite Sean Connery role?
I think with him, I just love the idea that I didn't realize he was the first Bond for the longest time as a little kid, because he was just I knew him as gray beard, bald head, and so that's all I knew him as for the longest time. And then all of a sudden I see him as Bond, and I was like, oh, who's this guy? He's like Sean Connery. I'm like, are you kidding me? And so once I knew that, it was just, I look at, if you want to argue the Bonds, and this always is the argument that happens, is who was the best Bond? And, pretty much Connery wins this. Roger Moore might be the wittier one, and the sassier one. Daniel Craig might be more true to the book as like an alcoholic psychopath. Timothy Dalton was there. But you look at it and
you're forgetting about Pierce Brosnan.
I'm trying to figure out how Pierce Brosnan, I guess, is the more suave one and stuff. But, Sean Connery not only encapsulated all of those things, but he did breathe life into that role. So it's an unfair advantage, but I think he just made it what that character is for good. And there's no other, there's no one else that could top it. Maybe just because he did it first, but I think it's still because he did it best. And he managed to take this role that is a very difficult role to play. This is like someone who is the original anti-hero, maybe not the original anti-hero, but one of the original anti-heroes in film. And, he managed to make us all root for him and love him. And that was just fascinating. I mean, if I'm going to say my favorite one, though, I think it's got to be Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, because he is just coming in as Indiana Jones's father in what is, just a remarkable performance as a sidekick, goofy, and then still this deadly serious guy that, basically, literally, and also by raising him, raised Indiana Jones, made Indiana Jones. You just see this is definitely the most eccentric human being in the world, because Indiana Jones is the most eccentric character in the world, not by his performance, but by the actual character himself. So that probably is it for him. Icon in cinema, absolute just legend in cinema throughout pretty much all of cinema. What would you say yours is, Joe?
Finding Forrester.
Oh,
absolutely.
yeah, Finding Forrester.
Absolutely. I mean, I just, there's something with him. I feel like this is said so many times, but I feel like there's certain actors out there that we take for granted, and they're the stalwarts of acting. They've been in every film. You have never hated a performance of theirs, and then they pass away, and you're like, oh my God, what's going on? They're not going to be here anymore. And a lot of the greats are passing away, and it really, really sucks. But then again, I go back to, I mean, not then again, it does suck, period. But he also, hasn't done a movie in 17 years, which completely shocked me. So his last movie was at 73, which is just so surprising to me. But, good for him. There were some health issues, and I'm glad that he is not suffering anymore. But it really does suck. Speaking of sucking, Blumhouse films have really sucked a lot recently. It's a good one, right?
The big four, buddy.
Next.
Yeah. So let's start with the sucky films. In the vein of sucky films, there were 4 films released on Amazon Prime Video as part of Welcome to the Blumhouse in October, and they all were not great. Did you watch any of them, Ziana?
I don't think so.
Okay, well, you're going to miss anything. So now we are getting 4 more in 2021. They announced it during their Blumhouse Festival or whatever it was called last Tuesday, which had a terrible logo, a green pumpkin. But I'm not bitter about it. And we're getting 4 films. One's called The Manor, Black as Night, Madres, and Bingo. Bingo I'm actually really pumped about. Something about a beloved bingo hall, so I'm in. But if Kevin was here, I think he would argue that these are films that are that otherwise wouldn't see release likely, and they're filmmakers that are being given an opportunity, and I do support that. So it's just hard to get really excited about them when the last 4 were not great. Sean, I know you had some thoughts about the Blumhouse, Welcome to the Blumhouse films.
So, I only saw 2 of them, and I was bored out of my skull on both. One of them was a ripoff of a Black Mirror episode that sucked, and the other one was some very talented murder mystery kind of fun stuff that just went nowhere. And so both of them just really bummed me out. I can't even remember the titles, and nor do I want to. I'm looking at right now the plots of the next batch of them, and while Bingo looks interesting, I'm speed reading through it, and I just see gentrification, and I'm like, oh no, they're gonna do this. Like maybe it'll be like my favorite film of the week was a social horror, but I just see like Blumhouse gentrification. I'm like, oh no, this is gonna be terrible. But I think Kevin is right, and you are right for quoting Kevin on this, is that these are definitely films that aren't seeing the light of the day. And so I love the idea of, Amazon and Blumhouse are working together quite a bit right now. So they're going to get some movies out there. I might see a few of these out of curiosity. If there is literally nothing else, I might give them a shot. But other than that, when you're dumping 4 movies at once, it doesn't seem that great. Meanwhile, while they're dumping these, I don't know which week it's coming out, but Freaky's coming out soon. And
November 13th.
See, that's gonna be the best movie of all time, and so it's just we're not gonna what are we gonna do with these 4 when Freaky's coming out as well, and that's the one they really do care about. So that's what worries me on the hierarchy of Blumhouse, a phrase I never thought I'd say.
Ziana, are you a Blumhouse fan at all?
I don't think so. What movies do they even do?
The Invisible Man.
Yeah. So they do. Blumhouse is sort of one of these things where they do the high level horrors. So right now you'll see in the trailers for Blumhouse movies, they'll be from the producers of Get Out and The Invisible Man, and they say that for every single one of their films. Okay. Most of their films suck. They did Fantasy Island in the trailer for that from the producers of Get Out and The Invisible Man. Now you're seeing what's happening. Yeah. Their production company is basically let's literally do everything, fund everyone, and then occasionally we'll get a financial success. Not a terrible idea. Okay. It's not totally off, but it does leave you with 4 films on Amazon that we might end up watching and wasting our time with. So it's a little bit of a love-hate relationship we have with the Blumhouse studio. Mostly.
So, Ziana, let's tee it up this way. We have 2 more Blumhouse films that were recently announced. Are you familiar with the Insidious films?
Never watched them, but I'm familiar with them.
So we're getting a 5th one. Patrick Wilson is in it. DC's King Orm from Aquaman. I love Patrick Wilson.
Ocean Master, sorry. He's in Ocean Jail right now. So he's in Ocean Jail, but he's still the Ocean Master until his title is completely taken away in the sequel.
Spoiler alert. Did you talk about that on the pre-show? Anyway,
Oh, come on.
so we are getting a fifth Insidious. James Wan is returning to produce. And what's different this time is Patrick Wilson's making his directorial debut. Hey, these films keep making money. And I guess that's, Ziana, that would be a good question is, you know, with when sequels keep getting pumped out for films, are you for that? Like, if you love the first film, are you excited about the sequels, or is there a point where they just need to quit it?
No, I mean, I have two conflicting thoughts on this. So if I were responsible for the business side of a production company, I would say absolutely make money. And if it's something that the people want, you know, supply and demand, let's keep making this franchise and see what happens. But as a fan of franchises that I feel like have gone on for too long, I don't know, it kind of ruins the magic of the first movies that you actually enjoyed.
Yeah.
So I feel like from a story standpoint, it's better to quit while you're ahead. But also, if you can make a bunch of money, I would probably choose the money.
So does that apply to Hocus Pocus 2?
No, Hocus Pocus 2 absolutely needs to be made.
I am with you there.
I am very excited. But with that, I think enough time has passed and it's such an iconic standalone movie that I don't know. It doesn't feel like making a sequel for sequel's sake.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think about some other movies like the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise where it's like they just kept getting worse and worse and worse and worse. And then you're left with like, I loved the first one so much. It was amazing. But when I think about Pirates of the Caribbean, I have to take into account all of the movies that weren't so amazing.
Well, and I think it's so different too when you're talking about a Pirates movie where they cost so much. Like, I can't believe, like, you're always taking a risk. Granted, it's Disney and they, like, you know, prior to COVID, they were printing money. So, you know, you can take those risks. It's so cheap to make horror films. And I think that's why we see a lot of lengthy horror franchises. And that's why they remake Friday the 13th every other year. But let me pitch a Blumhouse film to you, Zayana, and you tell me if you would watch this.
Okay.
I don't have too many details, so it's a very short pitch. But
perfect.
A kidnapped child is locked in a basement with only an antique phone that connects him to the dead, surrounded by the blood of other murdered children.
Now, it's also directed by the Doctor Strange director, Scott Derrickson. We're just spitballing here, but
ooh. I mean, my immediate reaction is I would not watch that. And seeing as how I still haven't seen The Invisible Man and I actually do want to see that, I probably would not get around to watching this. An antique
maybe in
phone
15 years.
that only my first thought was an antique phone. I was like, oh shit, this kid's not going to know how to get out. They don't know how to dial phones. That then it only connects you to the dead. What's the point?
But no, then it's surrounded by the blood of children. So is it powered by the blood of children? Is this the Clintons? Like what is happening here with this?
Oh my God.
Yeah, and how much blood can I get? Like, I need a measurable amount. Like, is it like splattered, or is he like swimming in blood?
All I can tell you is that the one story I read said half a dozen kids' blood. It was very specific.
I love how they went with half a dozen instead of 6.
They may have said
I know that's like, you know, I'm just saying, like, just the half a dozen is such a casual, like, oh yeah, no, half a dozen. Yeah. Like we're at the delicatessen.
They really don't give a fuck about these kids. I don't know, maybe like half dozen.
I also just want to point out, though, that the film so I interviewed actor Mike Manning a few weeks ago about his film The Call. Very, very similar premise. I mean, like not like half a dozen murdered kids, but you know, it's about like they answer a phone and it connects them to a dead woman and it kind of like transports them to like whatever. But it's very similar, and it was an antique black phone. And that movie, by the way, I do recommend it. It's a fun film. It's hitting Netflix, I think, at the end of the month, which is kind of cool. But yeah, I'm just like, really? This is what we're doing? Like, black box, black mirror, black phone.
No, it sounds weird, but then to play the devil's advocate, sometimes when movies sound really stupid, they end up being awesome because your expectations are so low and you're like, I don't get it. And then you watch it and you're like, okay, I do get it now. So maybe the premise sounds so stupid.
Not to bring this up again, but Palm Springs was one of those.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That was definitely one of those. And I'm only bringing that up again because I know all three of us really enjoyed it. But
yeah.
Whew.
Well, we don't even know if we don't know if Freaky's going to be good, but I'm seeing that the moment it comes out because that's a Vince Vaughn as a serial killer switching with a teenage a college girl, which sounds like the funniest premise in the entire world, but also ridiculous beyond all belief.
Mm-hmm.
Your theaters are closed.
Well, you know what I mean. Get on the couch and VOD. You knew.
I might go to the theater next week if we're not in total shutdown. I don't know.
No, I think we're going to be. Yeah, there's no theaters.
There's no theaters.
There's no theaters anymore.
Well, I guess we're all going to have to watch Netflix, but we'll be paying a little bit more for it because starting this November, your Netflix streaming is going to cost you a bit more. If you have the standard plan, it is going up $1 from $13 to $14, and the premium plan, which I didn't even realize they had, is going from $14 to $16. You guys canceling your Netflix subscriptions?
Yeah, definitely. I never use it. What is this? Really? It's $2. If they hiked it up $20, I'd be pissed. But I watched Mulan for $30 with an already subscription.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to do whatever. People are saying, by the way, it's there's Q-tips, there's Kleenex, and then there's Netflix. People don't say watch TV anymore. People don't say watch movies anymore. People say going home to watch some Netflix. Mm-hmm. And so I think that this is not going to do anything, and I don't want them to hear this, but they could go further if they want to, and I'm glad they're not.
Well, they will.
They will eventually.
Ziana, how do you feel about the fact that you are paying an extra $1 just to compensate for the amount of money they're spending on Adam Sandler's contract for Hubie Halloween 2?
Wait, sorry, it cut out at the end. So all I heard was, I'm going to pay an extra $1 for, but honestly, it doesn't matter because I'm going to pay that $1. So it really doesn't matter.
So for whatever he said, you're okay with it. So for whatever he said, you're okay with it. We're going to get this on record.
I hope it's not going to the murders of half dozens of children near antique phones. But I mean,
Baker's dozen.
Netflix wants $1.
They can have $1.
Yeah.
I was saying that it's going towards funding Hubie Halloween 2 and Adam Sandler's fun movies.
Okay, I didn't know I had a line in the sand, but that might be it.
No. Yeah, don't listen to him. He's gearing up for a transition right now.
This was not an intentional transition, but it does work.
With you at all.
Adam Sandler will continue to bless us with films on Netflix, this time with The Spaceman of Bohemia from the director of Chernobyl. The story, which is based on a 2017 novel from Yaroslav Kalfar, follows an astronaut who travels into space to collect samples of mysterious particles, though he finds that his life on Earth is falling apart, as it does when you're in space forever. And I can't say that. I'm sorry to all the astronauts who are listening. And the only voice that can help him is a creature from the beginning of time that happens to be lurking on his ship. Will you watch that, Ziana?
Okay, so I'm very intrigued by the storyline. That actually, to me, I'm okay, I'm kind of in. That's ridiculous enough. But then you said Adam Sandler, and I'm but I don't want him to be in it. So, I mean, I love Adam Sandler. I love his earlier stuff a lot more than his more recent stuff. But I still, for the most part, he's funny to me. But when he goes, fully into his ridiculous Adam Sandler mode, that's not when I enjoy him. And this sounds like a movie where he's going to be off the rails. So
I actually think that it's more of a serious drama from what I've been reading, which is, I mean, I love him in Uncut Gems. So I'm happy to see him get back into a more serious role, but I don't know.
I mean, the film itself seems absolutely wild. The premise seems wild, so I can see why you'd think that. But it does seem like a movie where he can't be his Sandler-iest because, that character is going to be going through a lot of drama in this. Mm-hmm. I just love the idea of he's already used to stealing particles like he did in Uncut Gems, where he stole the uncut gem. Well, he didn't steal the uncut gem, but he dug it out of a fish. And I just love the idea of him just having something precious and trying to deal with a past world as the world is falling apart, or a past voice of the world. I think there could be something there. The Chernobyl director sounds interesting because that is a gritty, real sort of sort of TV show, and this is seeming like it's not going to be gritty and real. Dramatic, yes, but that will be very interesting on how that all balances out.
Yeah, I'm with you there. The premise is interesting, but it also feels like one of those like dreams that you tell people about, and then they think you're an idiot. You're like, I'm going to space, and then my family things don't go well there, and I got to get back, and I got to talk to them. But the only way I can get back is if I find the particles I went out for, and I need the help of a space creature. But where is it? Oh, he's on my ship. That's great. I turn around, and he's suddenly there. Like, I'm interested. I'm making fun of a book that apparently was very popular. So. Hey, I'll watch it. It's interesting that Netflix nabbed that. And, they're finally giving us a drama with him instead of like, murder mystery. And we're getting murder mystery number 2 or murder mystery 2. And then we're also getting, we're getting another Hubie Halloween down the road.
Oh God. Yeah.
We're getting another watered down water boy. No pun intended. Because that's what that role was essentially. But I don't know. It's going to be interesting. But Netflix continues to rack up the films. One that I'm very interested in is going to be produced by Will Ferrell and Jessica Elbaum. It's a sister comedy film with Sandra Oh and Awkwafina, which automatically I'm sold because I think those two together are going to be amazing. And the story centers on a train wreck of a sister attempting to repair a fractured relationship with her recluse sister by helping her get on her favorite game show. I'm in.
Yes.
Ziana, you're like, yep.
You just mentioned like all of my favorite words. Awkwafina, game show. Love it.
I love Awkwafina. She's turned into a great actress.
I do too. Honestly, I love so far and love Sandra Oh. Like the whole premise sounds great. It sounds to be good. Like a good role for both of them. Because I don't know, I don't mind like Awkwafina being in this like weird stereotypical box that she gets put in sometimes, but like she's so good at it. Like I love watching Awkwafina be Awkwafina.
I'll be the pessimist. I love the talent. I love the talent in this a lot, but the premise of this sounds like something where the talent could be very, very much wasted. And I think that it could go either off the rails or be too generic, which are two completely opposite things, I know. But I'd love a happy middle, and I'm rooting for this film mainly because Sandra Oh and Awkwafina are awesome. I'd prefer dialed down Awkwafina like you were just talking about. I'd almost prefer that. I mean, the fun, crazy one, she's really funny, so I would love that. And I'm assuming she's the train wreck sister of the two of them. Although if they switch roles, that would be kind of fun to watch. I think Awkwafina is going to be the train wreck sister. And that just sort of like gave me a bit of a huff. And, maybe this is awesome and maybe she'll be funny. But there's a part of me that says I feel like I've heard this before. And it does worry me in that regard. But still, I'm in. I'm watching it. Those two are great. So let's do this thing.
You're tearing up my heart. You're absolutely tearing up my heart.
No.
I promise you it's going to be a good film. It's going to pop off on Netflix.
I really don't like this at all. I mean,
keep going. Keep going.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out.
It's going to be Netflix digital get down.
No one listening is knowing what you're talking about, which is even better.
Well, this I promise you will soon. Because
a deep cut with that one.
Rachel Bloom of Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, co-creator of Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, is saying it's going to be me to the director of a movie about Nsync coming out. That it was an idea that was proposed by Lance Bass, one of the former members of Nsync, and it follows two women. They were real-life best friends, Meredith Sandberg and Winter Byington, who spent an entire summer following Nsync on their last world tour. And they were in an RV. I think the RV was one from like Price is Right or something. So, back to game shows. So it's really interesting to me. But Ziana, Backstreet Boys or Nsync?
Backstreet Boys.
Okay, interesting.
So definitely Team Backstreet Boys, although I still know all the words to all of the Nsync songs. Was still a huge fan, but it was like, that was a defining character trait for me was Team Backstreet Boys.
What does this movie sound like to you? Is it something you're interested in?
Oh yeah, no, I will definitely watch this movie. That sounds awesome. Very intrigued by the road trip aspect. I love a good road trip story because you can go really like crazy, but it's also realistic because I mean, most people have been on a road trip at some point, and you never know what's going to happen or what you're going to see. It's not predictable. So I feel like that's kind of a fun plot line. And then also, I mean, if Lance Bass wants us to make this movie, then we should make this movie. Give him what he wants.
Give Lance Bass something. Sean, you were a 98 Degrees fan, right?
Oh, big time 98 Degrees. I couldn't do it.
Those Lachey brothers, you know.
With this, I mean, first of all, I was also a BSB, but that was only because my sister was Nsync and we were at a like sibling rivalry. So, you know, I actually think I liked Nsync more. But I look at this and this is perfect because when I first read the like article title, I was like, oh, Rachel Bloom doing an Nsync movie. All right, it's a movie about Nsync or something like that. Oh, it's going to be some kind of musical sort of thing. The fact that this is going to be the boy bands through a woman's perspective, which is exactly how you make this movie. Exactly how you make it, because they didn't matter unless it was the women that were like obsessed with them. And so to have it through that perspective and having Rachel Bloom basically like, you know, who just absolutely nailed, what was it, 5 seasons of a show that was just like a women's perspective that was kind of blew me away completely. I like all around. This is perfect. This is perfect. This is perfect. I'm so excited for this. I was negative about the last movie. I'm excited about this one big time.
Someone tells me you'll be taking your fiance to see this one.
Yeah, she just screamed via comment, and
that will be happening.
Yeah, so I guess that's going to be happening when theaters open up again in 2024.
Yeah, right. If we ever get there. Our final story tonight is about BuzzFeed Studios' first film. So yes, BuzzFeed Studios is now getting into the film game. Their first film project is going to be called One Up. It's an esports comedy starring Ellen Page. Page will play the coach of an underdog female college gaming team who goes up against the campus's male bro chauvinistic crazy team. And they're comparing it to like Pitch Perfect type, a type film. I'm all in on this. I think it's phenomenal. I'm very excited. Sean, what do you think about this one?
I mean, I just love the idea that an esports movie is going to have a female lead because that's just going to piss off every single gamer bro. Like that, just a little bit of that. No, I do not revel in people getting pissed off, but I kind of do in that situation. But I look at this and I love the idea. I love the I had a little chuckle when they're like BuzzFeed Studios, but then I remember we're talking about me and Joe off mic were talking about Netflix is making shows. Netflix is making movies. That's going to go terrible. So now I think let BuzzFeed make a movie or two. Let's see how that could even go. And I'm just very excited about it.
Well, Ziana, you're a big gamer, aren't you? Right?
Oh, huge gamer. Passionate about it. I own one video game, and it is Mario Kart for the Nintendo Switch, and it's the only game I need. So
get you through.
No, I am not about esports at all. But I'm excited about the premise of this movie. I feel like it's enough weird things put together. It's BuzzFeed's first movie. Ellen Page, girls in video games and sexism and esports that I don't care about. And I don't know, it just sounds like you throw it all together and it make movie magic. So
how do you feel about Ellen Page?
Oh, I like her, but I haven't seen anything she's done recently.
All I think about is Juno and Inception. They're the two I think of all the time with her.
And then she disappeared, and I think she kind of focused on her for a little bit, which I know is a cliche, but I think she just genuinely said, I'm going to step out for a little bit. I believe it was around that time where she came out, which that's, of course, going to create some, unfortunately, is going to create some problems. And,
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, no, I bet it's great.
We're going to tell you what that experience is like, Joe. Don't you want us to explain that?
Please do. Please do. The movies tell me all the time.
Yeah.
I'll just go ahead and express it. No, I think that was, and then she just started doing a lot of indie films. If you look on Netflix, movies that were released like in the past 10 years that no one has seen, and you'll see her there. And it's just, I don't know why she just couldn't work her way back in. The biggest thing recently was the Umbrella Academy, where she's gotten the most eyeballs, I think, of this for this like new generation. And
wait, she's in Umbrella Academy?
Yeah. There you go.
Good for her.
Exactly. There it is.
All right. Well, that's something. I did not like her in Inception. I go back to that a lot. I think I don't think she brought much to the role. Maybe that's the character. Maybe that's like what it was supposed to be. But I think when I look at those the characters that are in the films, especially when you're putting, her into like this like bro-y male film with Leonardo DiCaprio, Tom Hardy, and all the others, like I want like a character that's going to be stronger, and I felt like she didn't bring much to that role. I don't know. She's flat to me a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I'm hoping that a good comedy like this will kind of like, she was great in Juno. I love Juno. But hopefully this will kind of get her back into that, I don't know. She was in X-Men Days of Future Past. Mike Lovins reminds me of that fact.
She was in the better one, though. She was in the better one, X-Men Last Stand. That was the one you really want to watch. Yeah. She
was not in X-Men Last Stand, was she?
Yeah. That's where she like started her role in yeah. I forget who, but I mean, she's the same role she is in X-Men Days of Future Past, because that's the one where they, all link together.
Was she the one where Juggernaut was chasing her and was like, I'm the Juggernaut, bitch?
they decided to bring that in there.
Oh, man. Listen, I'm excited for that movie. I think it's a great premise. I think, Ziana, everything that you said about it is exactly why I'm pumped for it, because it's just like the confluence of a lot of crazy shit. So let's go for it. Why not?
Joe, would you say you'd vote for that movie?
You're trying to steal my segue right now.
I did it instead.
Yeah, it was terrible. No,
excuse me.
Speaking of terrible, tomorrow is election day, and my anxiety's at an all-time high, and I'm thinking about drinking wine tonight just to help myself sleep. But in honor of election day, we thought we would talk about our favorite election-themed movies. And I'm going to start off with an election-themed show, because, and not election theme, but political theme, because every time I keep thinking about a movie, I keep going back to the show, The West Wing, which we talked about Aaron Sorkin last week or the week before. But The West Wing to me is just television at its finest. It was always so interesting and so poignant and so specific to issues, and it holds up today. I actually keep forgetting to watch the West Wing reunion thing they did on HBO Max, but I really need to check that out. Sean, what movie? I know you watched An American President recently.
Yeah.
What movies come to mind?
I have a lot here, so I don't know exactly the best way to do this.
Well, let's do like one so that you don't steal Ziana's.
I was going to say, I would definitely like list them all and steal Ziana's. So I'm going to go with a recent one. And I thought about this, and I thought to myself, one of my rules should be no documentaries, because I feel like, and that's not an actual rule here, but one of my rules should be no documentaries, because a documentary is like sometimes a little bit easy to do. But I'm going to go with probably what might be, and I got to do a list to be sure, but what might be my favorite documentary of the year, Boy State. Boy State was, oh my God. Like, this is a movie where, if people didn't know, I'll try to do a really brief synopsis. It's basically a literal boys camp where like a bunch of boys, a bunch of boys are entered into politics, and two end up running for governor. Of the camp. Yeah. Sorry. That's going to be up too. I thought they were actually but of the camp. And this sort of brought in the politics of today, which of course is a nightmare. It brought in like idealistic politics from before. There was some just like emotional moments. There's some humanity behind the people running. There's a difficulty because this takes place in Texas. So, the majority of the boys there are rather right. And so you sort of get this feeling where there'll be some people of races that are other than white, and how they have to struggle with their ideals. And not to say that there cannot be conservative Black people or conservative Latinx people, but it is a little bit different, a little bit more difficult, to balance that. And this film manages to do that all the way. By the way, there is also girls' states, like there's girls' camps as well. And I desperately want a sequel to this documentary called Girls' State. I want to see exactly what this would be like. So, I have a lot more. So you can circle back to me 8 more times. But I've got that one first.
You're over-prepared, teacher. There's no extra credit here.
I just didn't narrow down. I underprepared. I just listed everything that I found.
Deanna, did you see Boys State?
No, I didn't, but I really, really need to because I watched the trailer a bunch of times and got pumped about it. I was like, oh my God, it's real life Lord of the Flies.
Yes.
Exactly right. It's really interesting. I remember texting Sean during it, and I was like, oh, I don't like how I feel about this. And he was like, keep going, keep going. It's a really good documentary. But
okay. No, that's
all right,
definitely on my list.
Hit us with yours.
Okay, so mine's also a show, and I'm obsessed with Veep on HBO.
God, such a good one. Such a good one.
Yeah. So anyone who hasn't seen Veep, it's a comedy about the vice president, the Veep, the first female Veep in fake American history, and it's so over the top, but also extremely realistic with how over the top it is. A good example of this, my favorite character, Jonah, is like the worst, just like probably person ever in the show. And he gets elected to Congress because of nepotism. And he makes it his personal crusade mission to end daylight savings time. And then the fact checker always just tells him saving time. So that's like my favorite quote. I saw a real article pop up on my news page like a couple days ago that was like, so Representative so-and-so trying to end daylight savings time. And I was like, oh my God, we're living it. We're really living Veep.
Oh my God.
It's so scary.
It was one of the things where I remember when the 2016 election was rolling around, and I was just getting, this is like around 2015 when it was just starting to already get ugly, and I was like feeling very, very bummed about everything, and I just straight up rewatched all of Veep, like that song. And it does sort of cure it because, even though it's completely cynical about what's going on, the other one is The West Wing, which is kind of the other side, the complete other side of it. And so I love that you two did those because on one hand, it's just like the cynical, like terrible, but that almost made me feel better than West Wing because West Wing I rewatched and I was like, why can't we have Jed Bartlett? Like, why can't we have the most perfect human being in the world? But
yeah, Veep is one of those. I almost said films, one of those series that continues to like deliver every time you watch it because they're just so fast. And the fact that it was one of those where they were ad-libbing a lot and kind of going off the cuff and making up their own stuff is even funnier to me because the outtakes are amazing. And it's so funny. And like following a lot of them on Twitter during, all the bullshit we're going through with our election and everything, they, oftentimes are like, we couldn't even come up with this. Like this is crazier than anything that would have ever been on our show.
Oh my God. So true.
One of the other a movie that I talk about a lot when it comes to politics, which is kind of funny today, Man of the Year with Robin Williams. It's a film where he's kind of like a Daily Show Jon Stewart type character who ends up getting roped into a grassroots movement to run for president, and due to a computer error or hacking, or I can't even remember it, it's been so long since I've seen it, he ends up president, winning the election, and he has to decide like whether he's gonna like accept it or go back to his behind the mic job. But it's Robin Williams. It's a good movie in my eyes. It doesn't get a lot of love, but I think about it a lot just because, not to deviate a little bit, but I remember like when I was younger, there was a rumor that Hulk Hogan was going to run for president. And I think I was like crying because I was like, oh my God, he's so popular. He's going to get it. People are just going to do it because we're all idiots. Now we have President Donald Trump. But it kind of like, I think about that popularity aspect and how that plays into who gets into office, and it really bothers me. But I don't know. Sean, is that on your list?
That actually was not on my list. No. All
right, hit us with one more.
One more. All right. Well, let me cross out. I'll cross out Batman Returns. That probably wouldn't really work. So I guess I'll go with if we're talking election movies, I'm going to be a jackass, and I'll say Election.
I knew you were going to say that.
This is the Alexander Payne film, which there's a few things great about it. I mean, first of all, everything's great about this. It's probably Alexander Payne's best film, which is unfair because it's his first film, and so maybe Sideways tops it, maybe not though, because I'm blown away by this movie, and it's a classroom. It's basically a class election run by Matthew Broderick, and you have several different students involved. Chris Klein plays a sort of Trumpish character. Reese Witherspoon as Tracy Flick plays a sort of Hillary Clinton character. And then you have there's one other student that just like, stop voting, don't vote. And she decides to run under like the none of the above or don't vote kind of thing. Ooh, that's Brewster's Millions. That's another one. Brewster's Millions. I'm
giving you content for tomorrow on your page.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I'm going to have a lot of these here. I got a 16-page list. But anyway, like Election is just one of those movies where it puts in the corruption. It like did the 2016 election 20 years before it happened. And it just talks about the like dirty nature of politics and from a perspective that we probably have never seen before and will never see before because the characters are all kind of awful. And it like you're kind of sitting there like a truly Alexander Payne film where you're like, oh, well, I guess I hate everybody and humanity's garbage, which, is maybe good viewing for this election year. But
fairly accurate.
But I truly, it is one of those movies where you have to rewatch it. You have to sort of sit with it for a minute, but it is just crafted so well.
That's one film I haven't seen, but when you say Chris Klein playing that role, I can totally see that.
Yeah, and totally. He's not a bully. He's like very wholesome. He's just kind of like, hey guys, let's all just hang out and stuff. Like he's the football player who breaks his leg, and so so Matthew Broderick puts him in the election so that Reese Witherspoon can lose. Oh my god, just set up perfectly.
Ziana, how about you? Any others?
Legally Blonde 2.
I knew you were going to say that. I was hoping you would.
I mean, it feels too optimistic to be realistic this year, but no, I love that movie because it focuses on basically how a bill becomes a law and what it's almost like the Schoolhouse Rock, how they have the song to like teach you the steps of government. I'm like, this movie is actually pretty helpful and you can learn about your country. I love watching Elle pass Bruiser's bill to end animal testing, and I think we need a real life Elle Woods or like a million of them to actually start passing some laws that need to be passed right now.
I'm with you. And
I was going to say, how does a bill become a law? Because I don't think I've seen one since I started following politics. Like,
I mean, apparently we
do
whatever we want to do. So.
Right. No rules. Hey, we're getting Legally Blonde 3 in May of 2022. So,
yeah, we are.
I love her in that role. She's so awesome. All right, well, let's wrap it up there because we're going to be talking election for the next I don't know until the Civil War is over. So everyone's like,
yeah.
Did you see that meme that's like, hey, what are y'all wearing to the Civil War next week? It's funny.
Yep. Saw that one.
So let's talk about this week's new releases. Let Him Go, Diane Keaton and Kevin Costner trying to get back their grandson after their deceased son's widow remarries. And it's kind of a crazy family. It's a very interesting film. I do recommend seeing it. And if you want to know more about it, read my review. Plug. Possessed or Uncut, which is a horror film that I've been waiting to see for quite a while. It is hitting VOD on Friday. I'm pretty pumped about it. And then Jungle Land, which is Charlie Hunnam and oh my god, I'm gonna forget his name.
Jack,
the actor I really like.
Jack. Oh no, I just had it open.
Jack. Anyway, he was in Startup. And some other stuff. But anyway, it's supposed to be a really good movie. It's hitting limited theaters on Friday and then VOD on Tuesday. So I highly recommend that. Did you get it?
Jack O'Connell.
Jack O'Connell. That's right. And hey, if Startup is a great movie with him, little rough, but really good. Highly recommend it. We have reached the awesome time where, Ziana, you get to tell everyone where to find you and what you're doing with your cinephile life.
Wait, is it me? It cut out in my ear.
Yes. So
For
now
more
you
of
are
that
telling us.
Okay. I heard the gist of what you were saying, and then it cut out when you said like who you were actually wanting to talk to. Okay. All right. So I'm Ziana. You can find me at The Basic Cinephile on Instagram. You can find me at The Basic and then on Twitter because I fucked up my username on there. You can find me on TikTok, and you can find me at thebasiccinephile.com.
Very nice, very nice. Always awesome content, consistent content. My favorite rating of yours is "That's hot." I think that's hilarious.
It's my favorite rating too because it's how I rate most things. I'm like, yeah, it's hot. I like it.
Consistent. Sean, did Kevin win his appeal with Twitter?
He has not yet, and I meant to post his appeal because it was probably one of the greatest pieces of writing I've ever seen.
Please do.
I need to make sure. I gotta have him send it again because like it is truly beautiful.
And if you post that, where will it be posted?
If I post that, you mean?
That was a segue to your promotion.
I thought you said if he posted that. I was like,
No,
I'm not
if
playing
you
Kevin
posted.
again. He's not here. All right.
Where can people find you?
Where can people find me? Instagram. Instagram at Math Teacher Movies. Just come on there for some monologue Mondays, what the Oscars got wrong Wednesdays, final shot Fridays, and movie reviews from the past and present, including television. I can't speak today.
And go on. Hopefully, you'll reshare that video of you freaking out during his house the other night because
It was
really
in my
funny.
story, and it was pretty much the funniest thing I think I've done.
It's really funny. Anyway, coming up, guys, I am raising money for Movember. It's the first time I'm actually doing it, but to bring recognition to physical health and mental health related to men. Probably leaning towards the mental health a little bit more because I think it's a topic that goes untalked about a lot. So I will be growing a mustache if it ever starts. So that will be fun. The link is in my bio at Guy at the Movies. You can find me at Guy at the Movies on Instagram, Guy at the Movies 1 on Twitter because someone had Guy at the Movies, which pissed me off.
Rude.
You can find, yeah, right. And guyatthemovies.com. I also play with TikTok a little bit, which I know Ziana does too.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to get that going a little bit because it's kind of fun and it's like a nice hole to fall into and not have to pay attention to the hell of the world. So before we give our parting messages here, you can listen to this podcast anywhere podcasts are found, anywhere you get them. That is on Overcast, on Google, on Apple, on Spotify, wherever you find them. Sean, you leave us with a message that is very important and timely.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, it's just like so unbelievably important to vote. It is a responsibility. If you don't do it, you're an asshole. Like I just plain it simple. Like I'm just gonna be mean. You're an asshole. So like really get out there and vote. Get up early and just get to the polls early in the morning. And then if you can't make it, then just you'll have other chances. But have the opportunity as soon as you can. This is, there's always this stuff where it says the most important election. I don't think there's ever been a more important election than this. It's kind of terrifying what's going on. And, we're having our laughs about it. And also we should, because, oh my God, we need to. But I still get so scared about what's going to happen. And maybe it's not this bad. Maybe it's going to be okay. But it'll be more okay if we vote. So please get out there, get in the lines, wait in the lines forever. Listen to this podcast. Whoops, you're already listening to it. It's almost over. Listen to other ones and just stay in the line and vote. Please vote.
And if you have a mail-in ballot or anything of that sort and you haven't sent it back yet, do not send it back. Drop it off to a drop box if you can, or drop it off to a polling place because that is the only way that those are going to be counted and every vote counts. But also, guys, there is a pandemic going on and we don't want to get preachy, but we're going to. Wear your damn mask. Like, it is not hard. Wear your mask, all right? Some of them look pretty good, I'm not a big mouth person, so seeing just your eyes, the focus on the eyes really helps me. So I don't know.
Helps you what?
I don't know. I started down that path and I couldn't stop.
Good Lord. They're not going to listen to us now.
Now that's the thing. Anyways, Yana, very thankful that you're here. Everyone get out there and vote tomorrow, and we will all talk soon. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.